Today, it promised more government jobs, subsidized LPG cylinders and announced a slew of schemes for girls and women.
भाई की आंख नहीं सुहाता, जो अपना घर नहीं समेट पाते वो आपके क्या काम आएंगे, क्योंकि आप 25 तारीख को पोलिंग बूथ पर जाएंगे, कमल का बटन दबाएंगे, सुरेंद्र जी को जिताएंगे, भाजपा की सरकार बनाएंगे। अब कांग्रेस वाले भी जानते हैं।
With all 200 seats in the state assembly up for grabs, this election is turning out to be the real litmus test for next year's general election. Since 1993, Rajasthan has elected the Congress and the BJP alternatively. This year, will the voters break that spell? We will find that out within a month. Now we are being joined by Professor Geeta Bhatt to decode this further. She is a political analyst and joining us live from New Delhi. Ms. Bhatt, thank you so much for joining us here on WION.
Thank you, Ananya.
Ms. Bhatt, as I said, and since 1993, Rajasthan has alternatively chosen either Congress or BJP. Do you think this year the spell will be broken?
Well, you are right, Ananya, that, it has been Rajasthan, people of Rajasthan have been alternating and bringing Congress and Bharatiya Janata Party alternatively into power in Rajasthan. And this year, you see, it is, if you observe the happenings in the state for the last 5 years in 2018 when the Congress government came into power, so I would like to take you back a little bit to 2013 when, Congress had a debacle in Rajasthan and I think, merely won 21 seats. They had a very humiliating defeat. And after that, it was Mr. Sachin Pilot who was given the charge as a party chief. And he tried to put his hard work into it and probably that was the reason that the government came, they formed a government later. But somehow when it came to that who is going to be the chief ministerial candidate, we know that the kind of bickering that has been between the two Congress heavyweights in Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot and Mr. Gehlot, who's the present chief minister of state of Rajasthan, the kind of bad blood that has been between the two of them. It took almost 2 weeks or more than 2 weeks rather in 2018 for the Congress party to actually decide that who is going to be the chief minister. And anyways, it was Mr. Gehlot who ultimately triumphed and he was made the chief minister. And after that, the way the governance has been in the state, there are two ways to look at it. One is Congress party as a political party, their governance and how Mr. Gehlot as the chief minister and at that time Mr. Sachin Pilot as the deputy chief minister, how they were taking forward the development of the state of Rajasthan. Well, it seems that they were so busy, squabbling and quarreling amongst each other that the development of Rajasthan and, bringing the welfare schemes of the central government to the people of Rajasthan, somehow it took a backseat. And I think you will remember that in 2020, when Mr. Gehlot, Mr. Sachin Pilot, when he decided to actually revolt against Mr. Gehlot, there was sedition charges which were placed by his own government, right, by the chief minister and who himself was also, interestingly, the home minister at that time.
Right.
So with all this in background, and not much of development schemes happening, the way, the crime rate against women, if you look at the developmental index, human developmental index, and the other issues like crime against women, it has increased almost double-fold in Rajasthan in the last 5 years. We can look at the NCRB data over there.
Absolutely.
So
Ms.
all these issues.
That's exactly. Sorry to cut you off, but that's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, if we could shift focus, you clearly mentioned that politics in general and the background is extremely complex in Rajasthan. But if we could come to the voter concerns, what are some major voter concerns? And if you could compare the manifestos and how are the two parties going to deal with it?
Well, you see, there has been, in the last couple of months, there has been certain welfare schemes of the central government. They have been deliberately, if you see, they have been slowed down in Rajasthan. And one of the most important welfare scheme, which is the PM Awas Yojana. It has been, the central government has been pestering again and again that why the state government is not going ahead with that scheme, but they have been very deliberately, they have been delaying it. And also there has been, a projection of that showing that the state government is taking a large number of initiatives. But for example, I would like to, bring forth one such initiative which was announced by the Chief Minister, Mr. Gehlot, and that was of providing mobile phones to the women, of Rajasthan who are 18 years and above. But to all the women who are there above 18 years, which was something of more than a crore number. But when it actually came to only a few actually got the mobile phones, and also they were some local Chinese made phones which were not working.
Right.
And similarly, if you look at the position of the exchequer of the state government, if you talk to the local people over there, except for the salaries to the government employees, all the other those who are pension benefits are given to people who are retiring, and all other such schemes have been put on hold because the exchequer is in such a poor state over there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ms. Bhatt, I'm completely out of time, but thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and getting us your insights.
Thank you.
Now, in other news, Spain has a new prime minister. The announcement came just hours ago, making Pedro Sanchez Spain's new leader. Now, Sanchez had walked a tightrope for months, ever since the July election yielded no clear result. Compromises were made, agreements reached, and even nationwide protests broke out. But despite all that, Spain's lower house voted in favor of the 51-year-old.
Alcanzado el voto favorable de la mayoría absoluta de los miembros de la Cámara, declaro otorgada la confianza del Congreso de los Diputados a don Pedro Sánchez Pérez Castejón, lo que comunicaré a Su Majestad el Rey a los efectos de su nombramiento como presidente del Gobierno.
Now, Sanchez won the vote by a very thin margin, as less as a mere 8 votes. As the numbers go, 179 voted in favor of Sanchez and 171 voted against his premiership. There were no abstentions in this vote. Now, how leaders from across party lines voted and the narrow margin of victory may have something to do with the contentious issue that gripped Spain for weeks. The ongoing row over an amnesty that Sanchez struck with Catalan separatist leaders. To quickly remind you, Pedro Sanchez had agreed to grant amnesty to hundreds of people facing legal action over their involvement in the region's independence movement. His decision triggered a series of nationwide protests against the amnesty agreement. Back in 2017, the Parliament of Catalonia had passed an independent referendum, but the Spanish government was quick to ban the referendum by declaring it illegal. Spanish authorities then proceeded to jail hundreds of separatist leaders of the region, and many of them have now been granted amnesty under the New Deal with Pedro Sánchez.
La nostra prioritat és Catalunya, no és la governabilitat de l'estat espanyol.
Let's shift our focus to Netherlands now. That goes to polls in less than a week. And the Dutch race to power is throwing up plenty of surprises and firsts. The fifth largest economy in the European Union, Netherlands, has seen political parties come and go more than any country's electoral system has. What remains to be seen is who will the Dutch vote for on December 22nd. Let's take a look at who is in the running in this race to power. First up, we have Dylan Yeşilgöz. The 46-year-old is the successor to the current and soon outgoing Prime Minister Mark Rutte. Now, Yeşilgöz is famous as a pit bull in heels for her no-nonsense attitude in politics. Many analysts peg her to be the next Dutch leader. Next up, now we have Peter Omtzigt. Considered a rather unlikely prime ministerial candidate, Peter's popularity skyrocketed in the last few months. This is especially interesting because he started a new party just 3 months before the elections. The 49-year-old is known for exposing a 2019 welfare scandal that wrongly deprived over 20,000 families of childcare. And up next, another leader to watch out for is Geert Wilders. Now, he leads the Party for Freedom, and ironically, Wilders is known for making repetitive calls to ban mosques, the Quran, and Islamic schools in Netherlands. He currently ranks 4th in the popularity polls. Finally, we have Frans Timmermans. He is the only left-wing candidate in this running. Timmermans had previously resigned from his role as a climate commissioner for the European Union. He now leads a joint campaign for the Labour and Green Left parties in the country. Now, ahead of the polls, Tuesday saw a debate among 2 of the 4 key candidates we just talked about, Timmermans and Omtzigt. While the debate may have been a heated one, analysts are already predicting that the next government, in all likelihood, will be a multi-party coalition.
People are extremely disappointed in government, disappointed in the state, disappointed in state structures. People are looking for support, are looking for guidance. And that's what he and I are trying to provide in the elections, to say we can set the country on a different course, on a course based on solidarity, on a course based on cooperation. And I hope we can convince enough voters in the Netherlands to go into that direction.
We've actually been doing politics, have led to lots of crises, but not to any solution. So we now have a big problem with housing, a big problem with cost of living. We've got a number of large scandals. One of the scandals was in child allowance, which I discovered together with a colleague from the Socialist Party.
Like many of its European neighbours, the Netherlands election rides on a slew of economic issues that are plaguing the country. Housing shortage, a lingering cost of living crisis, and skyrocketing healthcare costs are some of the major issues that will play a key role in determining who the people vote for. So on the one hand, we have a 13-year rule of the current Prime Minister coming to an end. On the other, there is a 3-month-old party that can turn the course of this election. How will the Dutch vote? And who will win this race to power? We will find out soon enough. For months now, the question has been who will be the running mate for Taiwan's presidential frontrunner Lai Ching-te. Now, laying all speculations to rest, Ching-te has picked Taipei's envoy to the United States, Tsai Ing-wen. With a fluency in English and substantial connections in Washington, Ing-wen has been the de facto ambassador to US since 2020. A formal announcement is expected next week. Now, once Ing-wen returns from the APEC summit in San Francisco, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party has had an uphill task ahead of them. Even though Lai Ching-te, who also serves as the country's vice president, has consistently maintained a lead in opinion polls, the joint run of Ching-te and Ing-wen is expected to be a competitive one. As Taiwan's 2 main opposition parties, namely the Kuomintang and Taiwan's People Party, have formed a coalition, the coalition is yet to announce their presidential candidate. Now, in recent months, Western investors in Russian companies have been on edge due to potential changes in Moscow's regulatory landscape. A new presidential decree under consideration is causing concern among investors who fear compulsory share purchases at significant discounts. It is safe to say that Vladimir Putin is reining in Russia's corporate sector further into his fold, and this just months before the elections in the country. Ivan Chebyskov, addressing the Financial Forum, revealed that amendments to a presidential decree are underway. The proposed changes could grant Russia a super preemptive right to buy shares in strategic companies from foreign shareholders. He emphasizes that the super preemptive right would apply to a narrow list of strategic companies where the state already holds a share. The lack of clarity and an uncertain timeline for the decree's publication add to the challenges facing investors seeking to adjust their exposure to Russia. Once published, the decree could impact how deals are approved and whether discounts would apply when purchasing or reselling these shares. Investors are concerned that Moscow's purchases may reflect a discount of at least 50% on the market value of the company's stock. Russia's efforts to cut foreign ownership and influence over its major companies have intensified since President Vladimir Putin's order to deploy troops into Ukraine, triggering widespread sanctions. Global funds tracking exposure to Russian equities experienced significant outflows, reaching around $42 million in aggregate net outflows in September. Western investors have faced challenges in retrieving assets from Russia, with reports of banks seeking to recover shares and struggles to guarantee full access to Russian stocks. As the Russian government takes measures to restrain capital flows, the lasting impact on broad-based investor sentiment remains uncertain. And now let's give you a roundup of other political developments across the globe. Lawyers representing a group of Colorado voters delivered closing arguments in a lawsuit filed against the former U.S. President Donald J. Trump. The lawsuit is seeking to disqualify Trump from the state's ballot next year. The voters have argued that Trump is ineligible to run for president in 2024 in view of the role he played in the 6th January 2021 Capitol Hill riot. This, as per the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, officials engaging in insurrection or rebellion are barred from holding public office. Newly appointed British Foreign Secretary David Cameron has got down to work, choosing Ukraine to make his first official overseas visit. Cameron called on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev. Zelensky said that he was grateful for the gesture amid the war in West Asia, that he had earlier said has drawn global attention away from the war in Ukraine. Liberian opposition leader Joseph Boakai is leading with a slight margin in a runoff election against President George Weah. Now, Boakai has received 50.71% of the vote, while Weah has 49.29%. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta, signing off.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
Allahu Akbar!